All right, so we're live. This is another episode of Refactoring. We're continuing with the record expungement project where we're doing the replace type check. Replace type check with like a state design. So I'll post the link for VS Code in the chat. Yeah, so while you get connected, I'll kind of go over what we did last week. Let's see, does this give this? Yeah, so to do the state design, we created three new classes: charge table data, event table, and financial table. Those will be responsible for handling the logic for how to save the data for each table. Each table's got has different logic and what to do with the data that the parser gets. So we should be on case parser, yeah. So we created a new attribute here, self current parser state, and we just assigned it to none. And then when it's on the charge table, we take self current parser state and we assign it to the charge table data class. And we do the same thing with the event table. Oh, we did the same thing with the event table. When it's on the event table data class, assign it. So next we need to do the financial table. That's where we left off at. And when you come down here to handle data under the charge, so this is true when it's in the charge table. So then we just call the current parser state and tell it to store the data and pass in the variable data. And we do the same thing for the event table. And I will do the same thing for the financial table right here. So when it's in the financial table, we'll set the current parser state to financial table, call store data on it, and inside the financial table class, we'll have this logic to run, to move over. Does that make sense, Sess, or is there anything I need to go over in more detail?
No, I think I get the overview.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't have VS Code installed. I'm trying to install it, but my net is poor.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, my connection is not that good.
All right.
I'll be following, but when it's installed, I'll let you know.
You'll be following, but what was that last part?
If it's installed before the end of the session, I'll let you know.
Oh, okay. All right, cool.
Yeah.
All right, so I guess so first thing we should do is probably make sure all our tests are passing. So let's run make test. And yeah, they're all passing.
Well, so make test it's a library in Python for testing.
So yeah, make test is so there's a make file, much like the Ruby's. It's not, make is not RSpec. So we use pipenv right here. So this is the actual event that's run, pipenv run pytest. So yeah, so we use PyTest to test everything in Python is what we're using. So PyTest is similar to RSpec. And then when we run pipenv run, that's kind of like bundle execute PyTest. So the pipenv run is kind of similar to bundle execute in Ruby. What the make is, that's that is similar. Isn't that like bundler? I think make is similar to bundler. Anyways, there's a make file. Let me open up the make file. So somewhere, are you doing the Python and Flask mob?
No, did that start already?
Yeah, I just saw a video for it. I guess it just started this week. So I was looking through the Slack. It must be the premium extra channel. I was scrolling up on that, and I
check
saw
that out. Is it the one that Mike is leading?
Yeah.
I didn't know it had started already. I was very interested in that.
Yeah, let's see, where is it? Yeah, it's actually right there on the on the general. No, sorry, no, that's not it. Premium extra. Yeah, it's right there. I guess it happened today, a few hours ago, about 5 hours ago.
I'll watch the video.
Yeah. So yeah, so the make file is right here. So you can, I think this is similar. What is that? Bundler? I think this is similar to the bundler. I think the bundler does this, right? So if you put in a command here, so whenever you run, you can run any of these commands. You just say make install, and it will run this command. You say make run, and it will start up your server. Pipenv run, Flask run, clean, it will run these commands. So let's see. So when we run make test, yeah, right here, make test, it actually just runs pipenv run pytest.
Wow, awesome.
Yeah. Okay, so tests are passing. So all right. So we need to. So we got the event table data all done for now. I'm just going to copy this because we need the same method in financial table data. Oh, it's already there. Okay. Oh no, that's charge table. I haven't taken it. There we go, financial table. So yeah, when the case parser comes, it calls the store data method on the whatever class this is holding, whatever state it's in, and it passes in self, which is the case parser object, and it passes in the data object as well. So here we're going to go self.current parser state.store data, self data. Exact same thing. Instead of running that logic, let's move it over to the financial table. And that should do it. Oh, but instead of having self.balance do, we need to do the case parser. There we go. So yeah, so passes in the case parser, and a case parser takes its attribute balance due, assigns it there, and so forth. Save that. Save that. The only thing I probably should have done first is right up here at the handle end tag in the financial table. We also want to set this self dot. We also need to set the state for it. And we'll call it, and it'll be the financial table data. All right, so yeah, so when it's in the financial table, the state gets set to the financial table data class. And then here, when it's in the collecting the balance due in the financial table, it'll just call the appropriate method. And if we'll also need to import the or require the financial table data. So right here on line 8, we can just copy this here. Do financial table data, import financial table data. So we're importing our file. Then when it gets to the financial table, it sets the current class. And then when it's handling the data in that table, we'll just call the method. So let's see if it works. All passed, no errors. So it's all working so far, so good. So I'm going to commit this, and then the next step is to consolidate this a little bit more. Pretty much in the end, we should only have something. Yeah, when we're done with refactoring, we should have something that just says do that. We're not going to do any of the checks that it's doing now. Let me commit this so it's in a good state before we do any more refactoring. So just add if so do state status commit, and then put in the commit message, initial refactoring to state design created for the state classes for storing data across various and yeah. I think that's good enough for it. Yeah, I think that's good enough. What do you think, Seth? Should I add more detail?
Yeah, commit is great.
Okay. All right, so that's committed. All right, let's continue our refactoring. So I think the next thing to do is here when we find out, okay, it's in the appropriate charge table, I don't think we don't need to be setting collect charge info to true anymore, or like we'll just set the state. We'll just say set current state to charge table data. So if we remove that, like if we remove all these conditions that say set this to true, set collect financial info to true. Let's just do one at a time. We say self.collect charge info to true. I want to be able to just remove that. And then here, this goes away. Collect charge info. I just want to be able to say, just collect the data. Doesn't matter what state you're in, just collect the data. So do you know, let's see. So in order to do this, we need to do a couple things to remove these checks here. Yeah, the first thing is to just, let's see, collect charge info is used all over the place up here. We don't need any of these here, to get rid of those. So yeah. So when we get rid of these, there's going to be 4 states the current parser state can be in. Well, there will be 4 assignments it could take on. It could take on a none assignment, and it'll take on one of these 3 assignments. And since we got rid of all these checks settings there, we just get rid of these, right? Does that make sense? Did I go?
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm going too fast.
No, I get it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, so instead of setting those checks there, we just remove them. We set the state, and we're just going to call the state. The only problem is, if I run this right now, it's going to fail because of our original state is just set to it's set to none.
Oh.
Right. So, and none won't have that method. It's going to give us an error like undefined method for none class or for nil class, basically. Do you know of a way we can fix that? Yeah, see, attribute error, none type object has no attribute store data. So this is, what's that?
I have no idea how we can fix that.
Okay. So I'm just going to create like a, what we can do is we can create another class, and we'll call it like, I was trying to think of a name for this class for the last month, and I haven't come up with anything good. Well, actually, I was thinking maybe like void or skip.
That's the class that you're giving us state for.
Skip collection. Skip store data. So let's say if we create a class called skip store data, or we could call it anything, but I'm trying to think of a name that says what it is. So basically we want a class that skips storing of the data, since there are some data we just don't care about, we don't want to store. So then if we create a class, let's say we come down here, create this class, skip store data. we could define that method. I'm going to cheat a little bit here. And we can define this method here. And what we'll do for the logic inside that skip store data is we'll just do nothing. And we can do that in Python by just saying pass.
Wow.
So now instead of having none, so instead of this being assigned to none, it's now being assigned to this class. And so when it comes down here and handles data and it's in that skip store data class, it'll be like, okay, I know what to do. I've got store data method, but that store data method basically does none. It does nothing. So if we run the test now, I'm hoping they pass. No. All right, let's see what's going on here. Index error, list index out of range. All right, something. Oh, I think I know what's wrong. Let me open this up in Sublime. Or actually PyCharm would be better. Let me see if I already have it open. So I do most of my Python development in PyCharm, and I don't ever use VS Code. So I like the syntax highlighting in PyCharm is a little bit easier to parse for me. It tells me exactly, it helps a lot so I don't make mistakes, basically.
Yeah. I understand. I have the same thing with Vim, even if the indentation gives me an error. Like it highlights for me. So I understand.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really nice. When I first started to program, I didn't know what an IDE was. And I was using I was learning Python and I was using Python's installed idle. I think it's called idle to do writing all my programs in, and there was no syntax highlighting at all.
Wow.
And I spent like hours trying to figure out what's wrong with this. Is like I'm missing a colon or something somewhere.
You didn't think about giving up?
No, I thought, I don't know. I guess I was bored or something. All right, so.
Is it possible for you to increase the font size?
Yeah.
Thank you.
I don't see anything. Okay, this is not increasing font size for some reason. But I don't see anything sticking out at me saying that I have any mistakes anywhere. So let's take a look. Let me take a look at this code again. We'll do it in here. So I think the problem is when let me undo some of these changes that I did. So get rid of that. That goes to none. Okay. So we had these set collect financial info to true. Set. We had that one. Had those. We had that one. All right. Let me save that. PyCharm should get updated. There we go. So just delete that. That's weird. Oh, okay. So select collect charge info. Okay. Let's try this. Let's just do one at a time. So the first one we're going to get rid of is select the collect charge info. So if I do a find on this, so we want to remove this one. Go to the next one. We'll remove that one there. Actually, okay, I just realized I know what the problem is, but let's do this one at a time, I think. And then we'll come here, we'll remove that. So now there should be no more collect charge info except for this one here. So then when we remove this, we should be able to say, okay. So we removed one type check instead of doing all three at once. But, all right, so when we run this, it's still going to fail because, yeah, get a couple errors here. Oh, invalid syntax. Line 82. Really? I don't see any syntax issues. I'm gonna put it back. I'm gonna put it back in the state because I think I know what the problem is. So put it back to the way I had it with just calling that, removing these type checks here. Actually, let me do a find on this so I can remove all of them. We'll remove that one. And we can remove that one there. Actually, we can't remove event table. Okay. So event table needs to stay the same for now because we set these other conditionals upon that event table. So that was probably one issue that we ran into. And then if we remove all the collect financial infos, we can't remove that collect financial info because it sets other stuff based on it. We'll just have to leave the collect financial info and collect event table as the way it is. Okay. Let me make sure I got this right. So git diff. So we removed charge info. Oh, okay. Yeah, so the only one we can remove is the charge info. But the other two we'll need to keep in place because it sets other things. It sets this dispo header. It sets the balance due. Although, yeah, based on this other conditional, it sets that. Based on this conditional, it sets that. So that means we can't. Where did you go? So when we handle data, we'll still need to do those two type checks for now, unless we so that table. All right. Okay.
But if we just check the second block, like there we just check if tag is equals to B, then we do self.get balance due.
Balance due.
Yeah. Like we just check the second statement. I believe this is the and.
Yeah. Yeah, so instead of setting the event table data there, we'll just set it up here. Does that make sense? So let us collect event table. Get balance due. Okay. Yeah, let me rewind a little bit. Let's do this one at a time. I think I know what needs to happen for it. I'm sorry, Seth, every time you talk, it seems to be breaking up a lot. So I think what I'm going to do is just do check out this file. It gets reverted back. So this is where we are before making any changes to everything passing. So the first thing we would like to do is when it comes into the charge table, I gotta reopen it apparently. Case parser. And so when it comes into the charge table, it sets collect charge info to true. So what we can do here, so collect charge info is initially set to false. And then at that start tag, handle start tag, it's again set to false at when this when it's at a table title, it sets it to false. And then again, yeah, and then gets set to true when it's at the charge table. So then what we need to do is, so in order to remove this collect charge info attribute, when it's here, when it's at a new when it's at a different table title or at the start of a new table title, we'll just need to set the current, the state parser to none here too. And then we can remove that. We get set to charge table data. Then we can just call that. But we're going to run into the same problem where none doesn't have that store data method. So we'll create our skip data class. And here, we'll assign the skip data class. Just put the class down here. And so if we run our tests, 2 errors, syntax error again. Oh yeah, I know why. That makes sense now. So yeah, we're getting a syntax error because we got if, and then else if right after this. So there's no else if. So we'll just move this to the bottom. Now if we run make test, "13 failed," getting some assertion errors. Yeah, so we screwed up something with the logic. Or I did. Stop. Yeah, so when it's in the charge table, we set the charge table data class. And then when it gets out of the charge table, we set it back to the skip data class. I wonder if there's a better way to do that. Maybe take smaller baby steps somehow so we don't screw it up.
It's all doing the same thing with the condition.
Yeah. I think so. Yeah, it's still doing the same thing, except without that. Let me try one more time. Okay, I just reverted all my changes. So let me first do this. We'll set case parser to, we'll create this dummy class down here. we'll set the case parser to that dummy class. Where are you? Okay. All right, let's see what happens. We should all pass. Okay, so far so good. So we got our dummy class. So when we set collect charge info to true, we want to be able to remove this typeset or type checking down here, right? So wherever we collect charge info to true, just set the charge table data. There's no other place where we use that charge info. Collect charge info there. It's set there. It's turned off there. And it's originally set to false. Okay, so next thing, so if we're going to turn it off here, we should be able to set our skip data class there. This should still all pass. Test. Go. What if I just move this out of the type check down here? That's where it fails. Yeah. Okay, so that shouldn't be failing. If we so yeah, that's causing issues. If we just put this here, I would imagine it shouldn't fail, because this would be set to our skip data class. Or actually, no, it's going to be running twice, isn't it? Never mind, that doesn't make sense. It gets run there, it gets run again. So that's okay. Yeah, so we got to remove all three at the same time. So we can't just remove one. We have to remove all three at the same time. Because if we just remove this one, say we just remove this one like I had done earlier, and then say, okay, so when it's in that, we'll just run it there. But now when it's in the financial table, it's going to get ran here once, and then it's going to get ran again twice. So that's why we're seeing errors. So we need to remove the type checks all at once. So let's go ahead and do that. So to remove the collect charge info, it's pretty straightforward, because we already got our skip data class in the correct place. So we don't need this collect charge info there. We don't need that there. And instead of assigning true here, we just assign our class that we want to run. And then that's it. We'll remove that in a minute. Okay, so for the collect event table data, we want to, we want to be able to remove collect event table. So instead of setting it, so it gets set to true there. But we also need it here in this check here, because it's going to be setting our dispo header state too. So we'll leave collect event table as it is, since we also need that variable here to set that variable. So we can leave it as it is, and we'll just remove it down here. I think the same thing with collect event table. We can leave it as is. The get balance due. So yeah, we want to remove the get balance due check. And get balance due gets set up here. So instead of actually assigning financial table data here, we want to set it up here in the get balance due. Set it to financial table data there. It's not, I don't think that is ideal. I would like to set them all in the same place. Maybe we can fix that later.
Okay.
So, yeah, get balance due is going to allow us to remove that type check there. So we don't need this. We don't need to set up false there. We don't need to set it true there. And then there. So yeah, so when it's in the financial table and the tag is equal to B, yeah, we can definitely fix this. We can definitely move this back down over here with the other ones, but we'll do that. I think we can actually not. Yeah, we may or may not be able to do that. But for now, we'll have to do it this way. So we'll set our financial table data up here, class. And our other two classes are set down there. And so now we've removed this attribute. We did not remove this attribute. We left it in, but we can remove the type check on it. And we removed this attribute. So now we can remove those. We just have that, whatever state it's in, it's going to run. And let's see what happens. Okay, only 3 failures. Damn it, still assertion errors. Where it's filling in the test case parser. Line 62. Okay, so line 62 checks financial table data. This checks financial table data. So it's filling in the financial on the last. Yeah, it's filling on the financial table data. So something with that is not working. But the other two are. So what do you get if So yeah, we had the balance due initially set to false here. So what happened? Okay, so balance due is initially set to false. Then it's set to true here. So it never gets set to false afterward. Maybe that's what's causing our issue. Because balance due only needs one number, and if it looks for what it does is it looks for a HTML tag that's bolded. It's probably not the best way to do it, but the bolded value is going to be the total financial due. Well, it's going to be the balance due amount. And so that's all we care about, is getting that balance due amount. And so saying case parser.balance due is equal to, oh, here we go. So if we look in the financial table data, it sets the balance due equal to false.
Oh.
So we were missing that part. So this is going to, so shoot, financial table data is kind of screwy. So we need to set our parser state after it collects the after it collects this balance due. We need to set our parser state back to the default or the skip data class or the default state. I kind of like default state, better name, but then also skip data class kind of tells what it's doing, so I'm not sure what to name.
Default sounds awesome.
What's that?
Default sounds better because skip data.
Yeah, let's do that then. Default state. There's two other places I need to change it. So thank you for your input, Sess.
You're welcome.
Okay, so default state, and then we also need to set the default state here, and then everything will work. But we can't set the default state there because
yeah, it can't be accessed.
Yeah, it can't be accessed. What we can do is pass. Oh, actually, we can because we got the case parser there, right?
Where's case? Oh, okay.
So we're passing in case parser. So all we need to do is call the current parser state and set it to default state, but default state can't be accessed, right?
Yeah.
So it's a little bit tricky. I mean, it's something that we can solve easily, but I guess the question is, what's the best way to solve it, right? So the way my brain works is let's just get our test passing. We know we need to set the default state to something.
Maybe we can create another default class here.
Yeah. Yeah, we could create like maybe another attribute too, like self dot set. We can create like a setter, right? For the setter method, we call set default state. So let's create our setter method. It's going to, let's put it in. Now let's put it in right here. So we'll call it set default state. And then yeah, we'll call it state. And so we'll call our self.current parser state, and we'll assign it to state. Yeah, that's not going to work because we still need to pass in the object. All right. Yeah, I don't like. Let's do this just to get it to work for now. We're going to extract this to its own file. Okay, let's do touch source backend sponge service crawler. Was it under parsers, case parser? And then we'll call it the default state. Default table data, default state. We do default table data. Default state. Okay, so we got our default state class. Save that. And then here in the financial table, we'll just import it. Maybe we can clean it up later. I think it's about time to wrap up. So let's get everything passing, and then talk about how to make it better next week if we want, or we can move on to chapter 2. So yeah, so we'll do. How do you save that? Right? Okay. So take our case parser. We'll import our default state. There. And we'll also need to import this into the financial table. There. And now since our financial table's got access to default state, we can just assign the current parser state to default state. For our financial table, we're going to turn off, we're going to set the parser state back to the default state after it's got its one data point. And then yeah, we created a new file, default state, to do that. And we imported it into here too. All right, so now everything is saved. If we run make test, all right, it's all passing.
Yay.
Yay. So I don't know, not the way I would completely like it, but it's not too bad as a first round. So basically what we have is we have our current parser state set. We get set to default state initially when the object is initialized. And then whenever it gets to a table we care about, it gets set to the appropriate table, charge table data. Then here it'll get set to your event table data. And then here it gets set to the financial table data. And then also when it gets done with reading that table, it gets turned off here when it's at a new table title. So when it's at the start of a new table title, it gets set turned off or set to default state, except in the case of the financial table, since it's the last table, and we only want to collect the one data point, our logic is only set up to collect one data point. We got to turn it off up here. So it seems like in order to remove this code here, we would have to define a new way to turn off the to set the default state. So maybe not at table title, but maybe at the, yeah, I don't know. It's weird. I don't know if it'll work because financial table is kind of special. But yeah, that's the way it's worked. That's the way it's set up to work right now. In order to change it, we might have to change other things that isn't really part of the refactoring, as part of the state design refactoring. What we did accomplish was able to remove all those type checks we were doing, and we just got, this is now kind of more or less a delegator method, right? It gets the current state the parser is in, and it calls the method store data on that class, and that class handles all the logic to collect that data. So we have the charge table logic, which basically takes the data, appends it to a data structure, the charge table data structure. The event table logic has a little bit more complex logic to handle the data. Financial table data just assigns the data value to the balance due value. And our default state does nothing, literally. So, I mean, yeah, that's pretty much it. Replace type check with the state design. So maybe, yeah. I will think about, maybe what I will do over the next week, I'll subconsciously think about how to, if there's anything else we can do to improve this at this time. I don't think there is. But yeah, either next week, maybe. I'm kind of excited to get back into the book, or we can, it's kind of, I think it's kind of hard to find real projects to work on that could benefit, or that need the state design refactoring. So I think either next week we might get back into the book, or if there is a more real life projects we can apply the state design to, maybe we can go through it again. We'll leave it up to the decision of whoever joins next week, and I'm going to read up on chapter 2 over the course of this next week too. So I'll be ready for whatever anybody wants to do. Or maybe we'll continue with this a little bit more. I don't know. I think we're done though. But I will. It'd be kind of nice to remove this, but this is required in order to set the state. So we can't remove these checks, but because they're required to set the state. But yeah, we removed all the logic in the handle data and put it into its own classes, which is a really huge improvement, I think.
Yeah.
Because now if the client comes back and says, oh, I want data for this class too, or for this table, I want this data, all we need to do is go, okay, you want collect this data from the event table, we just need to update this logic. Or if we need to create new logic for a new table, we just create a new class, call it maybe you want the other charges. I think there's a table called other charges. We can just create a new file, call it other charges, and assign that state to it. and put in the logic in that class. So it'll be a little bit easier to read and update in the future. So cool. Is there do you have anything you want to say? Any questions?
No, just thank you, and I'm sorry I couldn't be of much help today.
Oh, no worries. I understand. It must be painful to have, I don't know, spotty internet at times. Thanks for joining, Sess. I appreciate it. I like doing this. It's fun. I learn a lot. So cool. Yeah, next week we'll like I said, it's kind of open what we can do. So if you have any suggestions on what you want to do next week or continue with chapter 2, just you can ping me or just let me know in the when we start next week.
Okay.
Will do. Cool. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, have a good night.
Have a good day. And it's morning too.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you.
Bye.
See ya.